It all began with something as ordinary as resetting a Wi-Fi password. Jamal Carter had no idea that this simple action would unravel a shocking truth, one that would shake an entire neighborhood to its core. He had always lived a quiet life, preferring solitude over social gatherings. He worked from home, kept to himself, and rarely interacted with the people around him in Maplewood, Missouri. But on this particular afternoon, his peaceful world would be turned upside down. It started with a small but persistent frustration. His internet was unbearably slow. Video calls froze mid-sentence, music stuttered and lagged, and pages took forever to load. At first, he blamed his internet provider, but something about it felt off. Curious, he accessed his router settings, and that's when he saw it, a device he didn't recognize. Labeled Maplewood 01, it was actively connected to his network. Jamal frowned. He lived alone. He had never shared his Wi-Fi password with anyone. Yet someone was using his internet, and not just occasionally. The connection was constant, running day and night. His frustration turned to suspicion. Who was doing this? A mistake? A neighbor leeching off his connection? Or was it something far more deliberate? Determined to cut off the intruder, Jamal removed all unknown devices from his network and reset his password. He stepped outside for a stronger signal, leaning against the house as he typed rapidly on his phone, glancing at his router settings. Little did he know, someone was watching him. From her kitchen window, Linda Hayes spotted him. Linda had never trusted Jamal, not because of anything he had done, but simply because he kept to himself. He didn't attend neighborhood barbecues. He didn't show up for block parties. He was an outsider in her eyes, and that was enough. She had made a habit of keeping an eye on him, watching his comings and goings with suspicion. And now there he was, standing outside, tapping furiously on his phone, her gut twisted with paranoia. He's up to something. Grabbing her phone, she quickly dialed 911. "Yes, I need to report something suspicious," she said urgently. "My neighbor is standing outside, acting strange on his phone. It looks shady." Despite having no real evidence, Linda insisted something wasn't right. The dispatcher alerted officers. The police were on their way. Inside his home, Jamal remained completely unaware of the storm brewing outside. His focus was locked on his computer screen, his heart beginning to race as he dove deeper into the router's settings. That unknown device, Maplewood I01, wasn't just stealing his internet. It had accessed his home security system. Jamal's breath hitched. Someone had been watching him. The realization sent a chill down his spine. He glanced around, suddenly feeling exposed. This wasn't just someone piggybacking off his Wi-Fi to stream movies. This was something far more sinister. His fingers flew over the keyboard as he checked the logs, his pulse hammering in his ears. The intruder wasn't just monitoring his system. They had been doing it for weeks. Jamal copied the device's unique identifier, determined to trace its origin. He had to find out who was behind this. But before he could get any further, the sound of car doors slamming outside made him look up. Through his window, he saw police officers stepping out of their vehicles. For a moment, he was frozen in confusion. Then came the knock. Firm, unrelenting. He opened the door to find two officers standing there, their hands resting near their holsters. "Sir, we received a report of suspicious activity," one of them stated. Jamal blinked, taken aback. "Suspicious activity? What are you talking about?" The officer glanced past him, into his home. "Your neighbor called. She was concerned about what you were doing outside." Jamal clenched his jaw, his frustration mounting. "This is ridiculous." "Officers," he said, stepping aside, "you might want to see this." Inside, he pulled up his router's mirrored data on his laptop. The mysterious device was still connected. Officer Navarro leaned in, studying the screen. "Can you see what kind of device it is?" Jamal's eyes darkened as he scrolled. "It's been accessing security camera feeds." A sharp gasp came from behind them. Linda. She had followed the officers into the house, her arms folded in suspicion, until now. "Wait," her voice wavered. "What cameras?" Jamal turned his laptop toward her. "Mine." The officer's expressions hardened. "You're saying someone's been spying on you?" Navarro asked, his voice edged with disbelief. Jamal exhaled slowly. "Not just me." He clicked further into the data logs, and then his stomach dropped. There were multiple IP addresses, multiple homes. He clicked on one. A live video feed opened. A dimly lit hallway, a living room, a bedroom. Linda's eyes widened in horror. She staggered back. The footage was from her house. No! She shook her head. That's not possible. Detective Carter's voice was sharp. How is this happening? Jamal's hands were tight over the keyboard. His throat felt dry. Someone set up a fake Wi-Fi network, one that looked legitimate. When people connected, their devices were compromised. Navarro's face darkened. A man-in-the-middle attack. Jamal nodded grimly. Exactly. Linda's voice trembled. You're saying someone's been watching me? My family? Jamal didn't break eye contact. That's exactly what I'm saying. The officers exchanged a tense glance, their jaws tightening as the weight of the situation sank in. This isn't just a one-time breach, Navarro muttered. Whoever did this has been watching for weeks, maybe even months. Jamal scrolled further, and that's when he saw them. More video feeds, more homes, bedrooms, living rooms, even backyards, children playing, parents cooking dinner, families sitting together, completely unaware they were being watched. Linda pressed a shaking hand to her mouth, tears brimming in her eyes. My God, she whispered. And just like that, the reality set in. This wasn't just about a stolen Wi-Fi connection. This was an invasion of privacy on a terrifying scale. And the worst part, no one had seen it coming. They were being watched. Linda's face paled, her breath hitching in horror. Oh my God, she whispered, barely able to process what she was seeing. This is sick. Detective Carter's jaw clenched as he reached for his radio. His voice was sharp, urgent. Dispatch, we need cybercrime experts at this location immediately. This is bigger than a simple hacking case. Jamal's fists tightened. His mind raced as the chilling reality settled in. Whoever's behind this, he said through gritted teeth, they're not just doing it for fun. This is calculated. They've been collecting data, watching patterns. They know when people are home, when they're away. Linda's hands trembled as she gripped the back of a chair, desperate to steady herself. But why? She stammered. What could they possibly want with all of this? Jamal's gaze darkened as he stared at the screen. A grim possibility began to form in his mind. It's not just about watching, he said, his voice tight with fear. They might be planning something. Worse. Linda's eyes darted back to the screen. A terrifying new thought gripped her. Wait, she said suddenly, her pulse quickening. Where's the hacker? Can we track them? Jamal's fingers flew across the keyboard, the tension in the room thick enough to suffocate. Lines of data flashed on the screen, numbers and signals shifting, revealing what they had been searching for. His breath caught. They're close, he murmured. His eyes widened in disbelief. They're not far at all. The signal, it's coming from just 3 houses down. Linda's face drained of color. No, she breathed. Her voice cracked. That can't be. Carter's eyes locked onto Navarro's, the weight of the moment sinking in. We need to move. Now. Jumping to conclusions without evidence can destroy innocent lives. While real dangers go unnoticed, assumptions cloud judgment. Sometimes the truth isn't what we expect. If this story struck a chord with you, share it. Someone needs to hear this lesson today. And remember, before rushing to judgment, take a step back. Observe. Listen. Seek the truth. Lessons from this story. 1. Don't let personal bias lead you astray. Linda had no reason to suspect Jamal, yet because he was reserved and didn't socialize, she assumed the worst. She ignored the lack of evidence and focused on her own prejudices, overlooking the real threat in the process. 2. Protect your digital life. Hackers don't always need to break down doors to invade your privacy. A fake Wi-Fi network was all it took to compromise an entire neighborhood. This is a wake-up call. Never connect to unfamiliar networks, monitor your devices, and secure your internet. Your personal security is just as important online as it is in the real world. 3. Think before you act. One call, one assumption. That's all it took to put an innocent man in the crosshairs. If Linda had paused to consider the facts, she wouldn't have wrongly accused Jamal. Rash decisions, made without evidence, can have dangerous consequences. 4. The truth is often deeper than what we see. At first, it seemed like a simple case of a suspicious neighbor, but the deeper they dug, the darker the reality became. It wasn't just about one man's internet, it was an entire community under surveillance. The real danger was lurking where no one had thought to look. Don't let prejudice blind you. Be mindful before making assumptions about people. Sometimes the real danger comes from the least expected place. Stay vigilant about cybersecurity. Your digital safety matters. Secure your Wi-Fi. Be cautious of unfamiliar networks. Check your devices regularly. You never know who might be watching. Pause before you act. Snap judgments can hurt innocent people. Take a moment. Look at the facts. Think before you react. This story reflects an unfortunate truth. Many people are quick to judge others based on biases rather than facts. Instead of seeking the truth, they act on impulse, making choices that can lead to devastating consequences. It also highlights something just as crucial: our digital vulnerability. We live in an age where privacy is an illusion. Most of us don't realize how exposed we are online, how easily our personal data can be accessed, how simple it is for someone to track our movements, listen in, or even watch us without our knowledge. The internet is as dangerous as the real world. If we're not careful, we could be leaving the doors to our lives wide open. Subscribe to the Arc of Stories for more thought-provoking videos. If this story made you think, if it opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Let others learn from it. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Stay connected, stay informed, stay safe. Turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful real-life lesson. Thank you for watching.